Hi guys! Before I start this video, I would like to point out that it is June, the 25th of June today, and I am wearing this massive jumper because apparently summer has been cancelled in Scotland and we're just not going to get any sunshine at all whatsoever. Today I'm going to be reviewing episode 4 of season 6 of Pretty Little Liars, Don't Look Now. This episode was really good. I enjoyed this a lot, but I do have a lot of questions from it. Not only questions in terms of the overall A/Charles story arc, but some smaller, more nitpicky questions that typically have come into my head because I've been watching it and going, well, hang on a minute, that doesn't really add up. So I'm just going to talk to you guys about it. So basically, to recap, in this episode we discovered that according to Alison and Jason's dad, whose name I have just discovered is Kenneth De Laurentiis, managed to get through 5 whole seasons and then 4 episodes of season 6 of the show without knowing this man's name. In this episode, he apparently comes clean to Alison and Jason. He tells them that Charles, or Charlie, was their older brother. He was 15 months older than Jason, and according to him, he is dead. He tells them that when Charles was a child, he was difficult and troubled. After a certain amount of time, they had him put in Radley for his safety and for the safety of the other children. And that's really all that we get in the first bit of the episode. Further down the line, however, he reveals that when Alison was 11 months old, he'd left her in her crib, and when he came back upstairs, Charles had taken her from her bed and put her in the bath and started running scalding hot water over her. So obviously we get the vibe that from when he was quite a small child, he had it in for Ali. He then was put in Radley and apparently committed suicide when he was 16. That then means that according to Kenneth, A cannot possibly be Charles. Now obviously the first instinct of everyone is that that's probably a lie because they've been lied to so many times. Maybe Charles isn't dead. Now that Radley has been closed, the girls managed to track down where all the old files have been kept and they are apparently ready to be shredded, but they managed to get in just in time to get a look at Charles's file, which apparently has nothing else added to it after he turns 16. Otherwise in the episode we see a little bit of tension between Hannah and Caleb because she feels like he's kind of smothering her and suffocating her. He has put a tracker on her car so you can kind of understand why you might feel that way. Aria has distanced herself from her family a little bit, but by the end of the episode we see her opening up to her dad about what she went through. Emily is still trying to help Sarah. Sarah is obviously not in a very good place, and at one point Emily's mum finds her on the roof of the house, but Emily's trying really hard to help kind of coax her out and get her to talk about the experiences that she had, and they're forming what seems to be quite a nice friendship. I'm still slightly afraid that Sarah's going to turn out to be somehow directly involved in this entire situation, other than the fact she was trapped in the house, you know what I mean? I don't know, I feel like there might be an element of something to do with her with Charles. And for Spencer, bless her, she's still not managing to sleep and still trying desperately to get hold of medication to try and help her, so I'm a little bit concerned about the path that she's headed down right now. So, thoughts, feelings, theories, all of that jazz. I, as I say, absolutely loved the episode. I thought that it was great. It was back to the kind of tension-filled, crazy Pretty Little Liars that the last episode had given us. I feel like we got drips of information. I wanted more, but you're always going to want more in a situation like this. And the episode did leave me with that old familiar feeling that I used to have, where the episode ended and I would sit for just like half an hour just thinking of theories and being like, okay, well, if this person's connected to here, how did they get involved? And, you know, it just got me back into my old, like, Pretty Little Liars mindset. So, first question that I have of something that I feel doesn't quite make sense. Apparently Charles was 15 months older than Jason, which would then mean that Charles had been 6 months old when Jason was conceived, which means that Alison's mum and Spencer's dad would have had to know each other at that point. However, Alison's dad then said that they only moved to Rosewood after Charles was put in Radley because Mrs. De Laurentiis wanted to be closer to him. If that's the case, then how did she meet Spencer's dad in time to get pregnant with Jason? It then seems incredibly inconvenient that when you move to this new town to be closer to your son who is in the mental institution, you move in next door to the father of your child who you had cheated on your husband and produced. Do you know what I mean? So in terms of theories, I jumped to a few kind of mad conclusions within this episode because if you remember last week, I got very excited and decided that it was Jason. I've now realised that it is not Jason. I know everyone is like, I know people are still very much on this whole Bethany bandwagon, so I haven't actually looked at anything, but I do know that people have been mentioning Bethany, and I've seen that Marlene King had said at one point that a lot of the audience members were so clever they'd managed to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. Questions that I have though are, Bethany's dead. We know that Bethany's dead. She has to be dead because she was the body in the grave. If she wasn't, Who the hell is that? Because Alison and Sarah are both alive, and they were the only two other options as to who that person who was buried in the De Laurentiis garden was. Whoever is A, if it is not Charles himself, it has to be someone who knew Charles, therefore it has to be someone who knew him from Radley, because apparently until he was 16, he was in Radley. Don't know what happened to him after that. May have found a grave in her Aunt Carol's back garden, but that, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. So whoever it is that has been terrorising the girls is either Charles or someone who was close to Charles. If it was someone close to Charles, it means that it has to be someone from Radley. The only people who I can possibly think of who would have anything to do with Radley would be Bethany, who as far as we know is dead, or the other person who occurred to me, because it was the only other thing that I could think of, was Toby. Now, Toby's mum was in Radley, therefore he had a Radley connection from an earlier age. He could have been going to visit his mum and could have met Charles in there. He could have discovered who he was related to. He already didn't like Ali and whatever. So, you know, that had kind of occurred to me, and I thought for like a minute after the episode, I was like, I got this like chill because I really didn't want it to be Toby. But I was like, oh, it could be that. That kind of makes sense. But then I thought about it and I was like, well, he was obviously not in the dollhouse with them at the time that they were being tortured, because he was a member of the police department who was helping search for them, so clearly it wasn't that. So I may have jumped the gun a little bit with my Toby theory, but I just don't know what else to think. Like, it's doing my head in because I want to figure this out myself. I do not want to have it spoiled online somewhere, so I want to figure it out myself, but I just can't think of anyone else who could possibly be connected to this. I know that a lot of people are on the Charles wanted to be a girl and that's why he resented Ali, and so Charles is Bethany theory. So when Charles went into Radley, he started living as a girl, and that's what the two dresses were all about in the Christmas episode, The Dream That Ali Had. It does make sense. They have to tread quite carefully with that, just in terms of, you know, implying that if you want to be the opposite gender, then you might be insane. As long as they are very careful with the way that they do that, that could be interesting, but still, Bethany died. So it can't be her. Can it? I don't know. So I haven't seen the promo yet for next week's episode, which is 6:05, so I'm going to watch that just now because I had fun doing that last week.
That house holds all the answers. Good. I wish we'd never come back here. I've seen her a couple times. Someone in a black hoodie. She was in Radley. When?
She was in Radley long enough to know Charles. It can't be Bethany because Bethany's dead, right? This is what all this is pointing to. This is all pointing to the fact that it's Bethany, because they're saying she, a girl in a black hoodie, she was in Radley long enough to know Charles. But Bethany died. Remember that time where they found the body? Right, this is stressing me out. They wouldn't say she was in Radley and sound surprised if it was Bethany. Unless Bethany is Charles, but not A, because that's a possibility. I just don't know who, because if it's a she, and it's not any of the four main girls, and it's not Sarah, because Sarah's just obviously said there, I've seen a girl in a black hoodie, and it's not Mona, because we've already dealt with Mona. Who else is it? Who else is a girl who could potentially have been in? Oh, do you know what? I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wait until next week. I'm going to stop torturing myself with all of these different theories, and we will just see what happens in 6:05. So let me know in the comments down below what you thought of that last episode. I thought it was great. Let me know how you're feeling about the 6th season so far. Do you feel like the pace is working well, and do you feel like we're getting enough of the answers quickly? I actually think it's working quite well, because I know that they're leading up to 6:10, which is the mid-season finale, and that's when everything gets clarified, I think. So we've got 5 more episodes until then, and I think they are kind of drip feeding us the information at a good enough pace that we're going to manage to get everything all pieced together by that episode. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you're having a really great week, and I will speak to you again soon. Bye! I'm so excited. After the season 5 finale, oh my god, I've just got like super excited because I think I have a theory. Do you remember after